Welcome to Harry's Fan Mail. Today, Woody Blanks asks, Harry, how do you create a bowl from a log? Well, Woody, I'll have my slave human, Robert, show you how.
HodgePodge. I like your beaver. I really like your beaver.
We start off on this sunny day while this beast of a man carries this massive log to his sawhorse. My human plans to cut off parts of the log on the ends to account for the checking and cracking that has happened. He takes some rudimentary measurements, roughly the diameter of the log, and then marks it along the log's length. He starts up his chainsaw and begins to cut. For all you beavers out there, feel free to use your teeth. Next, you want to look at the log and orient it in such a way that you get the best bowl blanks possible. Robert marks the pith, which is the center of the log, and then a line at where he wants to cut. Ah, look at those wonderful shavings. A great treat for our afternoon snack. And you've got 2 bowl blanks. Uh-oh, Robert must be in production mode. It looks like he's gonna go for 4 bowl blanks. We better move on inside. There's nothing worse than a sunburned beaver. The human moves to the bandsaw and knocks off the 4 corners to make things easier on the lathe. To increase your efficacy rate, it's best to do all of the same tasks to all your bowl blanks at the same time. First, Robert cut the bowl blanks. Second, he knocked off the corners. Third, he's marking the center, roughly, to mount on the lathe. Boy, that sure is a sweet-looking awl. Check out the video on where he makes it in the top right corner. And now, it's the fun part, where we mount the wood on the lathe. I have trained Robert in the ways of the 40-40 bowl gouge. We begin by mounting the bowl blank with the rim of the bowl facing the tailstock. This will allow Robert to put a chucking point, which when he reverses it, will allow him full access to the bottom of the bowl. When you're given full access to the bottom, everybody's happy, if you know what I mean. Right now, Robert is making the tool rest perpendicular to the bedways. That will allow Robert to make the face of the bowl parallel to the tool rest, which will make it run more true. Now, let's get started playing with our wood. We begin just by roughing the face of the bowl blank to make it fairly smooth. The surface finish at this stage is not important. Next we put a circle to mark where we want the jaws of our largest chuck. This will give us a much firmer grip on our wood. Robert uses a piece of square high-speed steel that he bought off Amazon, link in the description below, to make a recess for the jaws. And there you have it, a mounting point. Now, repeat this process with the other 3 bowl blanks. I will go ahead and show this process on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th bowl blank full length. However, they will be sped up incrementally at 400, 600, and 800%. Now it's time for a segment I like to call Just the Tip for the Beaver. When roughing out multiple bowl blanks, it's good to keep the other bowl blanks in a plastic bag. This will prevent the blanks from developing cracks, which is always a bad thing. Robert has finished the first step of rough turning this bowl. He will next mount it in a chuck and shape the bottom of the bowl and make a tenon. It's always good to use the tailstock to apply some pressure when mounting the bowl to the chuck. Now we all know that this bowl is yet to be round. Notice how Robert takes a nice cut along the outside of the bowl without getting beat up. This is a technique that every wood turner should learn. No beaver ever wants to be worn out after playing with wood. Let's go ahead and clean off some of this bark. The next step is to cut off the corners roughly at 45 degrees. This will allow a place for the tool rest to be placed when shaping the bottom. Please pardon the background noise. That's just the trash collector collecting all of Robert and I's wood shavings that I haven't eaten. Note how the human moves the tool rest into the position the wood was that we just removed. Remember, when turning wet wood, it's always good to check the chuck tightness, as the wood may move. Well, look at that. Robert did it right on cue. What a coincidence. I guess I've trained him well. At this stage, we will begin shaping the bottom of the bowl. Remember, a nice curve is the key to a nice bottom. Before making the cut, it's always good to get your feet in position so that you end in a comfortable body position once you're done cutting. For you experienced turners, you might hear a bit of vibration. I believe this might be because the bearings on this lathe are going out. Luckily, a fellow viewer has requested, how do you change the bearings? This might be a future episode. We shall see. It's a good time to point out for the beginners that your senses are a good indication of how you're cutting. The vibration of the tool, how it sounds, all keys to a perfect cut with no torn grain. Robert stops his cut short of the top because I think he wants to leave a rim when he finishes it. A nice rim job always leaves your customers happy. Watch how quickly Robert adds a tenon to the bottom of this bowl. So magical. On to bowl number 2. Let's watch this sped up process for bowls number 2 and 3. Whoops, always good to turn that speed down before you start. Alright, I know all you viewers are smart. I mean, you are listening to a talking beaver give wood turning instructions, so let's skip ahead to the hollowing out part. At this point, you want to begin making small V-cuts to hollow out the material. If you experience skate back, where the tool kicks out towards the rim, you can put your finger down on the tool rest to prevent this from moving. However, once you get the shoulder started in the cut, you'll want to move your finger back to avoid the tool from possibly hitting the rotating side to the right of center and rotating around and smashing on your finger. Since we will be rough turning these bowls, you want to leave roughly 10% of the diameter as the wall thickness. We now switch to the bottom bowl gouge, a gouge that is meant for the bottom of the bowl. Who would have thought? And there's one finished rough turned bowl. Let's see how he does the rest, sped up by 800%. Wow, look at those shavings fly. And now, we're all done. The last step is to apply an in-grain sealer, such as anchor seal. However, in this case, Robert's using a 50-50 mixture of water and PVA glue, such as Elmer's. After a while, you'll have more bowl blanks than you know what to do with. Then you'll know you're a true wood turner. Doesn't that wood look fancy? I wonder what Robert's got planned next. Well everyone, I have to bid you adieu. This concludes our video for this week. Woody Blanks, if you'd like to see these bowls turned into final finished bowls, make sure to check out the video in the future. And for all you other viewers out there with burning questions, post them in the comments, and maybe we'll get to them. Now I'll leave you with one final piece of advice. Always have fun playing with your wood, and if you have a beaver, make sure to show it some love. Robert, I'm done with my community service.